It was hot. Drops of sweat trickled down her forehead. A moment, the streams of moisture turned into a faint smoke. It was stuffy. A heavy breath escaped her mouth. A cough. Her throat tightened in a spasm. A blazing inferno surrounded her. The smell of burning and smoke was already filling her nostrils. She desperately wanted to take a break and compose herself, but there was no time, not even an extra second. Tanya felt the wave of scorching heat approaching her skin. Pain. A needle seemed to stab her lip. A crimson drop of fluid ran down her chin. She had bitten herself. The fog in her mind cleared, and her thoughts became sharp. A lightning-fast dash of her body to the right, and her arm shot to the left. Sparks of light gathered in the air, taking the form of 3 shining spears. Fire! 3 golden streams rushed towards the threat. Boom! A wave of heat scorched her face, tightening her skin like a mask. The sensation was as if all the moisture in her body was trying to turn into steam. An effort of will and a wave of magic passed through her body, bringing freshness and granting the desired energy. The chemical reactions in her body responded to it. Adrenaline rushed through her veins, forcing internal reserves and shutting down pain sensations. Fatigue was replaced by incinerating rage. The bastard! How annoying he is! I'll tear him apart. The golden glow weakened, and the tongues of flame parted. The fire took on a living form, in which the demon's face was formed. A smirk stretched across Tanya's lips as the muzzle of the shotgun pressed against the bastard's forehead. Fire. Boom, 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 boom. The enchanted buckshot struck practically point blank. 12 simultaneous explosions shredded the old goat's face into rags of flame. A wave of golden light burned a path in the sea of fire. A dash, before the scorching element could recover, Tanya broke free from the trap. A chill of goosebumps ran down her spine. Intuition screamed about the approaching danger from behind. The adrenaline surging in her veins slowed down time, and the muscles in her body tightened like a spring. As soon as a new wave of heat reached her, a dash, boom! The roar of the explosion plugged her ears. The barrier around her body took on a dense oval shape, in which Tanya enclosed herself like a cocoon. The blast wave carried her forward about 20 meters, but thanks to the barrier, she surfed on it like a surfboard. Tanya stabilized her balance. A turn. The crimson element flooded the entire area. Nothing could be seen. Only the barrier began to crack, resisting the sea of thermal energy. After a couple of moments, a view of the scorched remnants of the stage opened up. Everything behind her within a radius of 50 meters had turned to cinders. Tanya again sent a wave of magical energy through her body, and the cracks in the barrier began to mend, but too slowly. A plasma blade was plunged into one of the cracks from the air. Pshh! It was literally melting the protective sphere before her eyes. A wave of heat struck her face. The sense of danger screamed hysterically. Tanya knew that if she touched that flame blade for even a moment, all that would remain of her arm was ash. She formed a new spear of light and blocked the rushing crimson blade. But she couldn't resist for long. The energy was literally dissipating into particles of light before her eyes. Tanya tossed and caught the shotgun. She pumped the forend, driving a new 12-gauge shell into the chamber. Crack, crack. With the sound of breaking glass, the barrier shattered. The old geezer's hateful face, wrapped in tongues of flame, smirked. Tanya replied with her sweetest and most innocent smile. The old man's eyes widened in shock when the shotgun barrel was pressed against his face again. Bang! Boom, 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 boom. Tch! He dodged again. Tanya clicked her tongue in dissatisfaction, pumping the forend again. The dialogue began amidst the explosions. What power? What did the church do to you? Bang. To be capable of such things at that age? Bang. You have absolutely no manners. Listen to what I am saying. Bang. Tanya frowned when she realized the magazine was empty, because now she had nothing to shut up his useless chatter. However, she showed no sign of it. She began to feed spare shells into the underbarrel magazine while circling him. Huh, honestly, my heart aches, the old man said, his gaze flashing. I never thought I'd have to seriously fight a child, even if that child is a monster like you. I'm giving you one last chance. Surrender. I will talk to the head of the Osteroth house, and perhaps what, old stump? Perhaps I'll die not too painfully, or perhaps you yourself want to join. How long have you been working for the Osteroths? 50, 100 years? You've become steeped in rot yourself. The old man seemed stung, trembling with rage. How dare you? The Osteroths have always been a great house. Pretending to care about his screams, Tanya froze in place. Meanwhile, the stream of energy slid 10 meters down, fixing a beacon. Excellent. Only one place left to finally complete the formation. Mistress, a voice sounded in her head. The last point is fixed. Transfer complete. I still have enough energy for one last transfer to get you out. The voice of the fallen partridge sounded in her head. Excellent. Let's begin. Suddenly, the entire huge stage began to be covered in bluish patterns. A powerful wave of magical energy descended upon the area. True, there's nothing for us to agree on. You are already... His face twisted into a smirk again. The preparations were finished. Only the last step remained. During the fight, Tanya placed beacons throughout the area, preparing a magical formation. At key points, her human resource, the partridge, had remotely placed enchanted C4 charges via teleportation. Oh yes, that will be quite the show. Coo. Energy circulated through her body. All Tanya had to do was release the circuit and the charge would immediately detonate. But something interrupted her joyful thoughts. The old man's calm voice sounded. Too calm. That's why I said you were still too young and hot-headed. Pillars of fire soared into the air, encircling the two figures in a ring 50 meters in radius. The crimson flame flooded the view. Her perception seemed to be cut off. Middled. Tanya instantly sent a mental message, but a second passed. 2. Silence. What did he do? Don't tell me. I see you've already figured it out, hehehe, he said, looking like a seasoned elder lecturing a student. Do you think I didn't notice all those beacons? Do you really think I would fall for such a trick? If I can't avoid the trap, then I just need to lock you in here with me. Her fists clenched so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Tanya hadn't accounted for this. Now she couldn't activate the charge without blowing herself up. The only option is to destroy the barrier, isn't it? He seemed to read her mind. Only alas, even with your strength, you won't be able to do that. I sacrificed a fraction of my life force to create a barrier of such strength. Even your partner won't be able to destroy it quickly. His smirk stretched from ear to ear. The only way is to... Oh no, I got carried away. I really need to do something about my teaching habits, because when I look at you... But he didn't manage to finish. At that moment, his eyes contorted in shock once again, just as Tanya's jaw almost dropped. But she quickly regained her composure. A smirk shone on her face. She didn't know which god or devil was on her side, but she was ready to pay homage to them, because at that very moment, boom! A breach formed in the fiery barrier. A figure in white clothes flew into it. No, not exactly. They used to be white. Now they were just charred cinders. It was impossible to pass through the barrier without consequences. A truly powerful thing. The person in those clothes was literally crumbling into ash before her eyes, and only a grimace of insane surprise was reflected on his face at the last moment as he fell on them from above. Finally, he turned to ash, but instead of him, something else fell down, an object shining with a golden light. Clink! The blade, literally blazing with holy energy, plunged into the half-brunt stage. Silence hung in the air. Only 2 pairs of eyes drilled the sword. A moment. The world sprang into motion. A sudden dash forward, the wind whistled in her ears. The old man opposite also didn't waste a second and rushed to intercept. Anticipating his actions, Tanya raised her shotgun. Bang! Boom, 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 boom. The old man reacted instantly, dissipating into tongues of flame. Tanya reached for the sword's hilt, but didn't manage to reach it in time because 3 fiery spears shot out of the air. Realizing she was too late, Tanya jumped back and raised her hand. 3 spears of light shot back at the fiery element. Boom! A wave of heat and light spread out for 10 meters. Pouring the last of her strength into the protective barrier, Tanya dashed straight into the fiery element. Guided only by her internal perception, she rushed towards the sword. She didn't know why, but a strong desire to possess it burned inside her. Tanya certainly recognized this sword. She was obligated to seize it. The mechanism on her neck blazed with golden light like a small sun, giving rise to a strange feeling in her chest. It seemed to be reaching for it itself. However, Tanya was slightly too late. Ah, that was unexpected. It's been a while, old partner. Her gaze finally locked onto the old man's figure forming from the flames. He was reaching his hands out to the sword. Ow, damn it! But the moment his hand touched the hilt, he howled, and a bright burn mark appeared on his arm. Golden light emanated from the sword as if trying to incinerate the being before it, but Tanya paid little attention to that. A wave of energy passed through her body again, and a new dash followed. The shotgun soared into the air, locking onto the position of the groaning old man's figure. Bang! Boom, 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 boom. A series of 12 explosions scattered the flame, and finally, her hand grabbed the blade. Bzzz. Boom! Tanya, meanwhile, it was as if a sun had ignited within her. A sudden surge of energy threatened to drag her mind into the clutches of euphoria. Waves of warmth passed through her body. Energy overflowed. A strange feeling. Tanya felt as if she had just reunited with a small part of herself. Yes, she felt that the sword was special. That's why she told Yoshi to get it. Who would have thought he would execute the order at such an opportune moment? This was a different matter, a most valuable human resource. At this moment, she was ready to forgive him even the fact that he had embarked on the path of a pervert. The euphoria continued, but Tanya understood that now was clearly not the time or place to indulge in pleasure. Moreover, the system had suddenly dumped a bunch of messages that obscured her view. Clinging together the fragments of rationality, she suppressed the raging feelings with willpower and mentally pushed aside all the notifications. No time now. The main thing now is the goal. Tanya slowly opened her eyes. Everything within a 10-meter radius was bathed in golden light. Shadows timidly hid in the flashes of the fiery barrier. There, she glimpsed the surprised face of the old demon. In his eyes, surprise, admiration, bewilderment, a hint of bitterness, but most importantly, for the first time, she saw fear. It was very clearly visible on his face, as if he had encountered some unknown horror, or rather a horror known only to him. Who would have thought? So the new owner is you? Damn churchmen, how corrupt have they become? I knew about their experiments, but I still didn't believe it. Artificial compatibility. I would never have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. Such a level of compatibility. It's simply impossible to achieve without being a true wielder. No, even more, simply incredible. My old partner not only rejected me, but accepted you as his true wielder? His eyes blazed with insane fire as he looked at the sword in her hands. But no matter how much he raged, Tanya clearly felt that he was afraid to approach. A smirk stretched across her lips. He had just dropped some very interesting information. She really wanted to know more. It was clear that he knew what kind of sword this was. However, not now. That could wait. Now she had to... Well, it looks like things are going to get a little more serious. But I can't retreat either. Indeed, with this sword, you'll have a real chance against me. He finally composed himself, and in the next moment, flames flared around him with renewed vigor. However, don't think it will be that simple. But he suddenly paused, looking at Tanya, who wasn't moving from her spot. Tanya merely smirked to herself once again. Yes, with this sword, she truly would have good chances. Tanya felt the energy overflowing, and her body felt light as a feather. Now, it was entirely possible that she could even match him in speed. However, why would I need that, cuckoo? Sorry, but I don't have time to deal with you. I still have urgent business, so bye-bye, cuckoo. Tanya waved goodbye to him. A dash. Tanya soared upward towards the fiery film. Only the old man's shocked eyes, resembling globes, watched her figure in disbelief. Because why should Tanya fight him as if she had extra time? Everything could be resolved immediately and on the spot, cuckoo. Boom. An arc of light shot from the sword, and the barrier film parted. No! And only a hysterical scream reached them a moment before Tanya activated the charge. Boom!